So how did you meet up first with Tom and Sally? Do you have any previous history? Were you referred, or how did you meet them?
Well, we were looking to buy our first home, and I think we found an ad online for their home buyers workshop. So we went to that down on Yonge Street, and we were pretty impressed with what they had said, and we liked their personalities. So we called up Sally, I guess, after that, and had our first consultation with her.
How did you first meet up with Sally, and how did that process go? What kind of things did you do with Sally at the beginning?
Well, I think we met at Starbucks for our first consultation, and she kind of went over everything that we were looking for in a home, and it was our first home, so it was pretty broad, and we didn't have a whole lot of specifics for her, but she gave us an outline of what to expect, and then she started sending us, I guess, ideas over online of different houses.
What was the first thing you did with Sally to start off the home buying process?
I guess she helped us narrow down different neighborhoods and type of house that we were looking for, and so get us focused on what it was that we actually wanted ourselves. Because at first we weren't really sure, and
we were kind of all over the place.
We were all over the map. So
yeah.
She kind of helped us narrow down what we were actually looking for.
Yeah, I think she had a better idea of what we were looking for than we did.
And what were the biggest home buying concerns you had before meeting with Sally?
I guess the expense was a big one. It was our first home, so we'd only ever rented. And just picking the right one. Like we didn't have any idea what to look for. You know, when you see a house, if it's a good house to buy, or if it's a reasonable house to buy. So.
Or what's reasonable in terms of price.
Yeah, exactly.
No idea.
So what advice did Sally give you?
She was very patient with us. She took us around to a lot of different neighborhoods to look at, I think, more of a process of elimination. I think she showed us a lot of houses that she knew we weren't going to like, but just to kind of ease our minds that we wouldn't like it, she would take us to show those. And she would point out things, she knew to look at a window, how old the windows were, and she could look at a furnace and she would know how old the furnace was. So she was really helpful with things that we would have had no idea otherwise.
And when did you actually start going out to look at homes?
We started looking at houses pretty
first
shortly.
couple weeks.
Yeah, after we'd met her, she'd sent us some that met our broad criteria online, and we met up with her usually on weekends, and she would take us out.
What happened when you went out? What types of things? Like, what did you see, and what happened? How was the experience?
It was a little overwhelming at first, I guess, just because we were looking at so many different areas and we didn't know. She was really nice. She would meet us. We didn't drive at that point when we met Sally, so we'd meet her at the subway, and she would take us around to the different homes that we were looking at. Like I said, she was very patient with all the different places that we were going.
And what did Sally do to finally get you your home, and how was the offer process handled?
I guess, well, it was this house that we purchased, and it was a nighttime. We came and looked at it, and we'd already seen probably maybe 20 houses at this point. And so we'd really narrowed down what we didn't want, and we saw this, and we knew that this was what we were looking for. So she had all the paperwork ready with her, and we signed the offer, and then we left it with her. Then it was just a waiting period, so she said that she would send that off to the seller, and we'd hear from her hopefully the next day with the results.
So if you were talking to a friend today who is thinking of buying, what would you say were the most important things for them to know about the home buying process before they started?
I would say that they should have an idea of what they're looking for, an idea of the different neighborhoods that they're looking at, a really good idea of their upper limit in terms of purchase price, because a lot of people come in thinking one thing, but by the time they start looking at properties, they realize it's going to cost a lot more than they originally had planned, so they need to really have that discussion beforehand. And Sally was really good at navigating us through that process.
Okay. What was the scariest part of the buying process and also the most exciting part?
I think it was the exact same thing. It's what after you've signed the offer and you know that you may own a house the next day, so it's pretty scary and intimidating, but at the same time it's super exciting.
Okay, so could you give us some overall final thoughts about the buying process and how it impacted you both?
I guess it was fantastic to have somebody like Sally around. It would be much more difficult dealing with somebody, I guess, who was maybe new to the industry. Like we were very comfortable with everything that she told us, and we knew she was pointing us in the right direction all the time. And as a first-time home buyer, you really need somebody that's going to do that because you have no idea what you're doing. So, somebody with her experience was, I think, probably the most important thing for us. Just to know that we had somebody that was looking out for our best interests and knew what they were doing in the industry.
Okay, so would you recommend Tom and Sally, and why?
Yeah, we actually have recommended Tom and Sally to friends, and we definitely wouldn't hesitate to do so again. They both made our selling and buying process just so much easier. Both of them could have been a lot more complicated than they were. So
I think they're both very good for first-time buyers or sellers in that they have a strong personality that gives you that push you need into the right direction.
Yeah, definitely as a first-time home buyer, you need somebody to keep pushing you along in
pointing you in the right direction.
And yeah, both of them are fantastic to work with.
Great, thank you.